Hey everyone, before we begin, I wanted to go over a couple different things. I'm going to begin this tutorial by holding the end of my pencil and trying to block in the group of boxes on my page. What I'm saying is I'm not going to draw one box and get that perfect and then move on to the other boxes. I'm concerned about how the whole group is going to fit on my page. So I'm just going to try to quickly sketch them in and then see how that fits. If it fits pretty good, then I'll go back and start working on each individual box, redefining it and getting it more exact. And then the other thing to mention is that I will be using citing techniques and trying to, I don't really know how to explain this except by saying I use one box and the lines and the corners of that box to draw the other boxes. But you'll hopefully see that as this demo progresses. Okay, you guys, I'm going to do the demo on the boxes. I have my drawing paper, I have a pencil, and I also have an eraser. The pencil I'm using is a 2B. HB or 2B would be good for this project. The other thing I will be using is I actually downloaded the picture onto my cell phone, so I'm going to be using that to do the drawing. I like using a cell phone because I can zoom in and do citing techniques. I'm trying to do it right now. Just using a pencil and my phone. I ideally like to work from a still life, but using my phone can also work pretty good. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is what I talked about at the start. I'm going to start by holding the end of my pencil. I hold it like this, and I'm just going to try to quickly block in all these objects. So at this point, I'm not really being too exact. I'm just trying to put down something, and I'm thinking about having it like fit on the page. So I'm being kind of loose about it right now, but I'm just trying to be loose and quick and get something down because it's all changeable, it's all workable, right? So like I'm getting a little nervous about the top of how high I'm going to go. And then as I block in, I start to notice things. So like this line, this box, it kind of relates to this line, right? But they're not exactly on top of each other. I think this line needs to be a little bit to the left. And then this edge of the box, it's right in the middle of this line pretty much. So that helps me notice that. But again, my emphasis should be on going pretty quick at this point and not being too exact because I just want to make sure it fits. Okay, and that actually does fit pretty well on the page. It would be better if I didn't have this gap here, but left or right, it looks pretty good. So now that it's blocked in, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to draw each box a little more clear. This page is a good block-in, but it's very messy. Like if you submitted something like this, I would have an issue because I would say, what line did you mean? So I'm going to do that for my drawings. I'm going to go back and just try to clarify. So let's start with this box, and now I change how I'm holding the pencil. If I'm holding the pencil like usual, like this, which is how I'm holding it now, I have more control, so I can do details more. So that's actually why I didn't hold the pencil at the start, because I don't want to do details when I begin in my blocking. Now, as I'm drawing this, I'm starting to wonder, what is the relationship between this side of the box and this side of the box? So I'm going to look at my original source image. I feel like the one on the right needs to be a little larger than the one on the left. So let's erase other lines that I have here. Should I change it? I think that's actually pretty good. And then my corners, citing, I have them in my drawing pretty much across from each other. But I feel like in the actual still life, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this, the corner on the left needs to be slightly higher than the corner on the right. So I'm going to raise that one. The cool thing about drawing is there's always two choices, right? If it needs to be slightly higher, I could raise that, or let's slightly lower that one, okay? So one term is citing. Another term is just comparing kind of relationships or things. So this back corner of the box, not quite vertical, right? It's higher than this corner, but slightly to the right. So in a way, I'm just figuring out the relationship between all the corners to draw it correctly. I should have changed the sleep time on my phone. That's our first box. Now, drawing is completely erasable, everything's changeable. So I'm not positive I like that. Like these two lines should technically be parallel. And this feels good, but this feels super diagonal, right? So let's lower that. What I usually try to do is I'm going to get this box somewhat correct, and then we'll move on. So let's move on to this box. We can always come back to this once everything is finished. So when I look at this box, again, I want to just think of it in terms of lines. So I have this line here, and then the side of this box, this line hits right there. So I placed it here. I think that's actually pretty good. And then this corner, I don't know if you guys can see, they're not quite across from each other. This corner needs to be a little higher than this corner, which I think is where I have it. And then we go up from there. Notice that I'm trying to make my lines nice, smooth, and continuous. This is something for my more advanced students. So sometimes when we're insecure, we can make a really ugly line, but I'm trying to be nice and continuous. Okay, now we have this same thing as before. I'm trying to figure out what's the relationship between these two corners. My gut instinct is that once again, the corner on the left is higher, but I'm not quite sure of that. You guys can't quite see it, but from my angle, when I hold my pencil, aligning with this corner on the left, I figure out this corner on the right needs to be further down. Now, what really happens with these boxes is that as they become closer to our eyesight, the top will become less and less. So what I'm saying is, in the picture or in my drawing, I should see this top the most, a little less of this top, and then this top is approaching like it should be the least. It should almost be a straight line. And the way to do that, it can be tricky when we draw it. So one of the ways to do that is to check how diagonal or how horizontal these lines are. If you're seeing too much of your box top, you're making these lines too diagonal. I actually think I might be making them too straight in this one. Because I feel like there's a big difference between these two boxes, you know? It's hard videoing because I would usually be drawing on an easel. So I would be more on top of the drawing, but I'm looking at it from this weird angle. Okay, last box to go. So this box, the relationship is the side actually starts, I'm gonna move it over. It needs to be more like this, right? And I'm just judging this relationship. Let's get it down right there. Like I'm looking at what that corner should be. So it goes up. And then let's look at this line right here and where this line hits it. So it's not quite halfway. Like we have more room here than here. But, oh, we talked about it with our bottom line too, right? Like the relationship between this and this, they're not quite in sync. They have to be, so one has to be off to the side. And then we talked, this is in the middle. So I have them in the right place, but I also want to look. So in my drawing, I have these almost equal, these two chunks. I don't know about it, you guys. I'm going to give it a little more room. I kind of feel like that darker side, the side facing me, should be a little bit bigger, right? And then what I'm saying about the top, this will be a pretty good example. So this is not that dramatic of a Y here, but this is even going to be less dramatic of a Y. So because this box is coming to be to our eye level, it's these lines should be approaching being horizontal. This back corner needs to be somewhere over here, right? Okay, now, hopefully most of you will draw cleaner than I draw. I can draw correctly, but what I do is I'm just messy at drawing. I draw like 3,000 lines and then have to spend time cleaning up all my incorrect lines. I mean, it works in the end, but it's a hard way to live because you have to spend so much time cleaning up. Okay, I think that's pretty good. If this was my real drawing, I would spend some time going and dealing with line weight. I'm sorry, I have a really weird screensaver. So I'm going to mention just really quickly for my more advanced students, there's a group of you. A good drawing would have different line weights, so different dark areas of line and light areas of line. The normal place to make a line darker is where there's shadow. So all on the bottom of these boxes, you can see there's a slight shadow, and I'm not letting you shade, but a good way to suggest the shadow is just go back and make those lines a little darker. And then typically, if the box or if the line is the edge of a box touching air, like the top of the box, that would be a lighter line. And there's other kind of rules, kind of not. Another slight rule is some people make I can't draw and talk at the same time. The boxes that are closer to you, they would make those lines darker. I don't know, you guys. I keep on messing with this one box closest to us. Okay, that's a pretty good box drawing. You want to do something like this. Again, the most important thing is just compare your corners and compare your lines to each other. We call this citing in art, and it'll be something that really helps you draw the boxes, okay? Okay, good job, you guys.